you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful day. This beautiful day. Thank you.
It's really wonderful. I am so happy to be here with you, and I'm taking my glasses off because they're really just for reading. You know how it is. You go get your eyes fixed, and you don't have to deal with distance vision. I want to welcome Illuminati Spiritual Center members who have shown up today. I want to welcome our other visitors today. And I want to welcome the live streamers, our love streamers. Turn around and say, hey, we love you. Hey. Welcome. It is so wonderful to be here today. We have been talking all this month on the theme of protecting the vulnerable. It is important for us to answer one simple little question. Who is the vulnerable? Who is the vulnerable? We all have some kind of idea of who could be the vulnerable, but how many of us have said, Lord, it is I standing right here? Yep. Because each one of us at some point in time have been vulnerable to the issues of life. It has nothing to do with your economics, how much or how little you have. We find ourselves in situations where we have to call on help from a power that is greater than I am. So, how do we protect the vulnerable? That is a big question. But for those of us that's been in spiritual, religious thought for a while, we've got an inkling. We're trying our very best to learn more and have a better understanding of what the divine is within us. So we go to that place of recognizing that there is a power within me that is greater than I am, and I can use that power. Dr. Michael Beckwith said and taught us, and add this other phrase, and it can use me. And guess what? The empowerment that we're going to talk about today is it being able to use us. So the title of my talk is Heart-Centered Social Engagement. Heart-centered social engagement. Bring your hand to your heart and breathe. We're going on a nice little ride. It won't be a roller coaster ride that will cause your heart to palpitate. But then again, if it does, that's okay. You will land at the bottom intact and whole. All righty. We have been using as a resource book the New Republic of the Heart by, who is it, Linda? Terry Patton. I read that book way back in, I guess, last year when we announced that we would be doing this series, and I was so impressed with his thought. What you should know is that he does come from the Buddhist and Eastern philosophy, and we appreciate that because what we know about Dr. Holmes, the founder of Science of the Mind, our philosophy, is that during Dr. Holmes' ministry, not only did he speak from the Christian philosophy, he also spoke from the various Eastern philosophies or whatever spiritual teaching that was available that demonstrated truth. So we're not limited to just one way of looking at it. So our philosophy says that we don't adhere to dogma, but we're open to wherever spiritual truth is heard. So what is spiritual engagement? It's going to a concert with Pitbull. Yeah. It's going to the theater to see Hamilton. Yes. Oh, it's going to a Beyonce concert. That is a form or a type of social engagement. But today, what we're talking about is something so much more. It is coming from that place of spirit within us. The undercurrent theme that we've been dealing with all year long is social justice, social gospel, prophetic justice, and all of this kind of wonderful thought. And when we're doing that, we are focusing our attentions on the various specialty groups, the cultures in our life that require to have special attention, that we need to become much more aware of the concerns and the issues that each one is facing. Why? Because our spiritual principle of oneness reminds us that we are all in this unity of this creation together as one. We're not separate and apart from one another. We're one. And the more we get used to this reality, to this truth, the better off that we are. So when it comes to no matter whatever your spiritual teaching is, when you decide that you're going to follow that teaching and apply it to your life, and in Science of Mind, we call it contemporary application of spiritual principles to your life, it means that we begin to align our spiritual living, our spiritual thought, our spiritual actions such that they are one. Our oneness. We look at the very nature of God. What is that? That same nature is resident within us. Each and every one of us. When I look at you, oh, I see me. I love your eyes. When I look at you, I see the music in you. I love to sing. And I see those things. We can look at one another and see some aspect of ourselves, including when we say, oh, I don't like this thing about me. It's like, oh, I'm not the only one. But let us move forward. The type of social engagement that we're talking about causes us to have a mobilization of our individual energies into communal power. What has been transpiring for many spiritual communities for a long time is when human disasters, when natural disasters happen, it has been spiritual communities that have stepped forward to begin to bring health and some type of wholeness back to people who have been victims of this disaster. I was never so much impressed with a disaster and the response of the spiritual community to disasters to what I personally saw with Hurricane Katrina and followed by Rita. When the churches in the area just automatically came together and started providing resources to people when the dams failed and people didn't have a place to live. They no longer had homes. They no longer had what we understand to be the basic needs of life. It was the church communities that mobilized. When? Right away, not, oh, well, let's go to Congress and see if we can get some money for this. It wasn't that. Yes, there was a need for the additional funding, but what we recognize is that that process takes a much longer time. Why would you tell someone that's hungry, I will give you some food 3 months from now, when the person is hungry now? Why would you do that? So we look at the vulnerable communities and we begin to see ourselves in that position. What if that were me? There is the compassion that runs through us. And there is the golden rule that transcends the various spiritual traditions that we are aware of. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. If you want to have a wonderful spiritual story that goes along with that, I invite you to pay attention to, in the New Testament, the story of the Good Samaritan. I have no intentions of going into the story, but I'm just referring it to you for your own time of sitting and studying and thinking about it. But what's interesting about that story is that the Good Samaritan, quote unquote, the Samaritan allowed his humanity to come before his designation as a Samaritan who didn't like other people other than his own kind. So when we look at the various groups and cultures in our entire environments, and we have them in our everyday environment, whether you know them or not, when we look at them, we begin to have an open heart, a wider open heart. We begin to allow what Dr. Holmes said, let that love and let the law follow. Let it easily flow. This is what I began to love about this community when I first came. You said that you are heart-based. You said that you wanted to see someone with heart. And we open our heart, and many of us have to get to a place of understanding that, oh, I can say I have an open heart, but we have to practice allowing that open heart to open and to open wider, to open to the need that is being called to be met in that moment at that time. Yes, we have the homeless. Yes, we have the children that have special needs. Yes, we have all of the disenfranchisements. We have the outrageous fortunes that our flesh, our human flesh, is heir to, says Shakespeare. We have all of that. But what we all have in common is a heart. Shall I go to the science of this? Are you interested in the science of the heart? All right, the science of the heart. Recent studies show and tell us that the heart is actually formed and created in the body first before the human brain. The science tells us that the very same cells, some of the very same cells that form the neurons in the brain are first formed, activated in the heart. Science tells us that the heart itself has a mechanism by which it tells the brain, this is what we want to do today. This is why we want to go to the heart. This is why we want to open the heart. We want to be aligned where we have that heart-brain coherence, where we are aligned in spirit. Now, you may ask, how do I practice this? How can I practice this heart thing that I'm trying to bring into my daily experience? Well, most of us know that. At some place, we say, I have a spiritual practice. Some of us meditate. Some of us pray all day long. And this is what it looks like when you pray all day long. You're driving in your car and you see something happen. Oh, God, oh, God. Oh, God, help me to keep my hand down. You don't want the flying fickle finger to come out. All of that is part of it. We have various spiritual practice. Some of us are journalists. We write. We write our thoughts down. And when we're putting those thoughts down, we are letting that flow of that thought to be there. And you go back and you read it, and you will say to yourself, oh, my God, did I write that? Oh, that was a genius thought. And you recognize your genius, whether you're ready to call it your genius or not, but your genius is there. And sometimes we recognize, oh my God, this is what is mine to do. Bobby talked about earlier in her meditation about our purpose. What is my purpose in life? What is my purpose in life in terms of this thing that we're talking about today? Social engagement. How do I connect with people that I may define as the other? you just do it because sometimes you don't know that they are the other until you call them the other. You just laugh and talk. We have no idea who comes into the room, but my stance is whoever comes into the room, we just love them just as God has created them, and we love them some more, and we ask to be loved in return. And when someone has an issue, we have to be able to be in a position where we can listen. To listen. Sometimes you don't need to say anything, but you need to give that person space to listen to what they need to share and get off their chest. And if that isn't something that is yours to do, it's so easy to refer that person to the minister. We have other ministers here as well as practitioners. And then there may be some sociologists and psychologists in the room that says, hey, I'm available for a free session. Who knows? But the point is, people in spiritual community identify the issues of life that we must address. And we're on the forefront to address them. And it usually starts with one person saying, we must do something about the environment. What can we do on an individual basis to help with the environment? In the center, what are we doing? We're recycling. We're putting likes in the correct receptacles so that they can be disposed of properly. I love the one that's compost because it puts things back into reuse. I love the paper recycle bin, the glass recycle bin. It puts things back in good reuse. But here's something that I don't think we've done yet. I know there have been yard sales, but have you thought about clothes? I'm guilty. I have clothes in my closet that I'm no longer wearing. Shall I be honest? Who has clothes with tags still on them? See? That's the abundance that God has blessed us with, but let us do something about that. We can recycle those things. There are clothes closets where people who are going back to work, who are going into becoming more productive, the typical expression of a productive citizen in society, let's put those things out there for them. So when the spiritual community raised this issue, Centers for Spiritual Living, we want you to begin to express our concerns about a particular issue. Centers for Spiritual Living Home Office with the community spiritual leader developed a committee called the Spiritually Motivated, Spiritually Engagement Committee. And their purpose is to provide aid and assistance to the community spiritual leader to address these kind of issues. They are a think tank, so to speak. And what the community spiritual leader does is take advisement and information from them to rightfully address the issue. And what do I mean by rightfully? We're talking about what does our philosophy say? Because people who come into your center that are hurting want to hear a word of life, a word of encouragement, and they don't want to leave your center. I didn't get anything. I haven't been helped. Feed me. Yes, people want to be fed. They want to hear underneath everything that's being said and done, they want to hear, God loves me. Somebody cares about me. I have heard a word of life, something that causes me to want to live another day, to move forward, to try something new, to hold on, to just continue to evolve, to grow. But to know that I am sustained right where I am. And that is our job. That's our job. If we have gotten some inkling of what that looks like and what that feels like, there's that little song I learned in Girl Scout. It only takes a spark to get a fire going, and soon all those around will see it glowing. And that's the way love is, and soon we're just passing it on. In the corporate world, it's each one teach one, right? And we can do that too. We can share that which we're capable and able to share. So today is Pride Day. All day long, there will be celebrations by the gay pride community. And all this week, as I've turned on the television, there was no way to get away from hearing some of the testimonies that have been coming forth about how proud people are to be exactly who they are, to allow their light to shine just as they are. One mother I listened to on CBS early in the morning said, she was from Texas. She said, I'm so glad to be here in New York today because I brought my son so that he could be free to be exactly who he is and not fear retaliation from some unknown person. That he's fully in his community and he can be happy. And I just love him so because he's such a good boy. He's such a good person. Isn't that lovely to have a parent to just honor their own child, allowing their own child to be who they are? I think most of our parents have tried to do that. Every parent has not met that bar, but many parents try. With my parents, they didn't care who we were as long as we were productive citizens in society. And you better not embarrass me. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, so we met that bar for the parents. Now, it wasn't, from the parents, a serious bar, but for some of us, it was a high bar because what did being a productive citizen in society mean? And I think we have the freedom to define what that means. So here again, social engagement comes into play. When people in my spiritual community became aware of what the parents' desire and wishes were for for their children, as well as other parents in that same community, they prayed together. They prayed together that good would come. Our community, I was raised in a Baptist church, but our community was a significant part of our lives. Not only the Baptist church that I went to, but another branch of my family that were the Mennonites. Oh, they were truly involved. They were very much involved. And you know, there's nothing more powerful from social engagement than to have an activity planned that is designed to assist and help you along the way. I know there are many people that will say, I participated in this event, and guess what? I got a $50 scholarship. That $50 went to education. I participated in another event, and guess what? I received this recommendation and this commendation for being a participant that helped with the leadership. You know, all of these little things, they appear to be little to you, but they truly add up in the larger scheme of things. So when we, on our level, tell our corporate offices we are interested in dealing with the issues that are in our society, and we want you to address them and to help us address them, the best thing that our corporate officers can do for us is to assist us in identifying which principles that we apply such that we recognize and remember our own wholeness, and we are able to convey that same information to those that are seeking to understand their wholeness. It's all there. So the teachings of Jesus, Master Teacher Jesus, let us know through many of his parables that there's the law of cause and effect that runs through everything. Everything. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. It is done unto you as you believe. Those are truisms that we cannot get around. And they operate whether you agree with them or not. They still operate. So how, through science, do we maximize that? We can go to the heart. We can go to the heart. And we can ask, Spirit, help me to open my heart. Open my eyes that I may see the fullness of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hand the wonderful key that shall unlock and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. So what is it that we will give those that are standing in need? We will give them a key that can lead to their freedom from that which is oppressive. Social engagement does not have to be hard. There has to be a willingness on our part to engage with ourselves as seen in others. And guess who gets blessed? Both of us. I invite you to join me now as I close. There's the wonderful affirmation. We've said part of it, but I think it's worth saying again. Please repeat after me. I see the conditions, in our world, that are a call for prayer, and action. Together in oneness, we join hands, hearts and minds, to co-create a more kind, loving and abundant life for all. And so it is. Let's go within now for the community prayer. Oh, we give grateful thanks in recognizing that there is a power and a presence, a divine intelligence right here where we are right now. It is always with us, for the word says, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Lo, I am with you always. And we accept and know that right where we are, God always shows up. No matter what the condition, we know that we can change those conditions through the power of mind. So we open our hearts, we open our minds to align ourselves with spiritual truth. And in doing so, we surrender into the divine action, the divine right actions of spirit. Allowing spirit moving easily and effortlessly through our hearts, through the body of our affairs, to assist us in doing that work that is before us to do. We are the representation of the Infinite One. And I accept and know that right where each one of us stands, each one of us sit, that we are a standing stone. We stand in the gap for those that may be lost in thought about what they need to do or can do. But we open our hearts and we open our mouths and we gratefully say, thank you, Infinite Spirit, for this life. Thank you for the provisions for whatever is needed. We open ourselves to allow the entire global heart, the whole heart of humanity to flow easily and effortlessly through us. And because of what we have learned through the science, we accept and know that it goes beyond our own limiting beliefs. And I thank you for the magnanimous intelligence of spirit that knows exactly what to do, how to do, and why to do it for all of us. And for this, I truly give thanks, because right now, for all of us, I recognize that God, the infinite spirit of life, is the eternal goodness, is the eternal loving kindness, is the eternal givingness of life to all. And for this, we are truly thankful and grateful. I invite you to join me in closing. And so it is. All right. Thank you.